We're continuing here on the Elias Macko Show, and our next guest is a professor of astrophysics at the University of Rochester, has just penned an opinion essay in the New York Times. And it's entitled, "I'm a physicist who searches for aliens. UFOs don't impress me." Well, let's find out more. Let's go to the source. Dr. Adam Frank joins us on the line. Doctor, thanks for coming on the show.
A pleasure.
Tell me, Dr. Frank, why don't UFOs impress you?
Well, what doesn't impress me, what I mean by this is that the data that we have, the kind of data that UFOs offer us to make the connection between I saw something I didn't understand in the sky and we're being visited by an advanced extraterrestrial species, the data just don't allow you to make that leap. From a scientific perspective, that's what I mean by that. You'd need an entirely different class of data to be able to make that kind of connection.
Counterpoint, Dr. Frank. I want to believe, I really, really want to believe. We saw the 60 Minutes reports. We have all the Navy pilots saying they saw something. There's a report due to U.S. Congress by the end of the month. So come on, something's going on here, isn't there?
Listen, I think there's definitely something worth studying, right? There's something, but wanting to believe and knowing are two different things. So I study, the work I do is I have a NASA grant to look for, this is amazing. People really need to understand this. If you're interested in aliens, the place to look is in other planets, and we now have the capacity to look at these other planets. And if I were to make a claim that, I found evidence of an alien civilization on a distant planet, my colleagues, as they should, would beat the crap out of me, right? They want to look for every possible source of error in what I was doing, and then I'd have to show why all the other more plausible explanations don't fit, right? And so that's how science works. And if you tried to apply the same kind of logic that takes you from UFOs to aliens to building a cell phone, you know what you'd have? A brick, right? We have this process called science that we discovered 400 years ago, and it clearly works, but it requires enormous painstaking effort. And, with UFOs, we just don't have that kind of data. Maybe someday we will, but we don't have it now.
We're with Dr. Adam Frank, professor of astrophysics at the University of Rochester. So you know what? You've led us very nicely, Dr. Frank, to where we need to be. The point you're making, forget looking at UFOs. The real way to hunt for aliens is to look at the planets. So tell us about that research. Tell us what we actually can discover and, what the research is telling us on that front.
Yeah, so this is what's really fascinating. What my colleagues and I are doing now is that what people need to understand is that, humanity has been arguing about other life on other worlds for 2,500 years. You can literally see like Aristotle and Democritus beating each other up, in ancient Greece. And for the first time in all of human history, we now have made discoveries and have technology that means that, very soon, in the next 5, 10, 20 years, we're going to start having data, actual data relevant to this question. So the most important thing to start off with is that we now know about planets. We didn't know whether there were any other planets other than the ones in our solar system. Now we know that every star in the sky has at least one planet. And every one of those worlds is a place where, you could have snow falling, you can have wind blowing through mountains, and on some of those worlds, you can have life forming. So we now know exactly where to look. And so that's the important place to begin with.
Dr. Frank, you mentioned the NASA grant. You've got money to study signs of intelligent life elsewhere in the universe. What are the greatest markers that we should be looking at? Is it water? Is it looking to see if we can gleam through our telescopes if a planet has water? That's the key. What are the top things you look at? Is it the radio waves, Jodie Foster contact? What are you doing?
Well, it depends. So the first question is, are we just looking for life at all? Like are we just looking to see whether or not there is a biosphere on that world, like on our planet? And so what we're looking for then, what we call our biosignatures. So for example, when you breathe, when you take a nice deep breath, you got all that great oxygen, right? That oxygen is only in the atmosphere because of life. So 2 billion years ago, there was life on the planet, but there wasn't oxygen yet. Life made the oxygen. Life put the oxygen in the atmosphere. So if we were to look at another world and we saw oxygen or say methane together in the atmosphere, and we can now do this. We're just at the point where we can look at a world 30 light years away and be able to tell from the light that comes from that planet whether or not there's oxygen and methane. That would be a pretty clear indicator that there was a rich and abundant biosphere on that planet. So that's what's called a biosignature. Now, we're also thinking about technosignatures, signatures of technology. For example, if you saw something like chlorofluorocarbons, right, which is the stuff that we use to spray, in spray cans, there's no way that would appear in nature. And we just published a paper that showed that, with the James Webb Space Telescope, which is being launched soon, you would have the possibility of seeing, if there were chlorofluorocarbons, this industrial chemical in the atmosphere of another world, you'd be able to see it with the James Webb Space Telescope.
So you could tell if not only there are aliens, but they also have air conditioning. Is that
exactly? Are using spray cans and destroying their ozone. No, wow. But you could see things like solar panels. If a civilization covered a moon in solar panels, you'd actually be able to see the imprint in the reflected light that these solar panels were there. So there's a whole wide range of things, and that's what we're trying to figure out now. That's the work, is to figure out what should we be looking for, how do we look for it, will it be detectable? That's the work we're doing now, because the telescopes are coming online over the next 10 or 20 or 30 years. And maybe that's not fast enough for people, but that's how science works. Science is exciting and it's boring at the same time.
It's because we grew up on Star Trek. That's why. Picard and Cisco, they're out there, they're meeting the beings, and I want to meet them too. Listen, I really enjoyed your piece in the New York Times. Dr. Adam Frank is a professor of astrophysics at the University of Rochester, and you can read that piece, I'm a physicist who searches for aliens. UFOs don't impress me. Thanks for coming on the show.
It was a real pleasure. Take care.